I'm increasing prices, bud, and welcome to Nyobicomics, bud. That's right, welcome to Nyobicomics Live. It is LP writer and creator of the comic books Nyobi and Savage Sin, taking a look at the news. That's right, let's get into the news. Tariffs hit the DC multiverse as McFarlane, bud, starts to increase prices. That's right, everyone was worried how tariffs are going to affect the comic book collecting and the collectibles in general as a whole. Well, here we go. The first stone has been cast, ladies and gentlemen. Times are changing in the new 2025. Tariffs under the latest presidential policy are starting to impact the toy industry. That's right, you grown men who are still playing with toys, you need to listen up. Many U.S. toy companies rely on manufacturing in China, where labor and production costs are lower. As new tariffs begin to arrive, import costs on toys already starting to dive up prices for consumers. Sadly, the DC multiverse has already started to feel the burden of these new tariffs, with the latest figures already getting that price boost. McFarlane Toys, bud, has done an excellent job in keeping DC Comics action figures reasonably low compared to other brands out there, such as Marvel Legends. But that is all changing following the latest DC Page Punchers line, which features Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and Kingdom Come Superman. Hey, bud, my figures look great, bud. Great movies on the horizon, bud. And DC Multiverse prices increase as import tariffs start to arrive. Due to the 20% tariffs imposed on imports from China and the United States, some of our products will see price increases effective immediately. We have worked hard to minimize the impact and have limited these adjustments to only certain items. As always, our priority is to the fans and the best products and the most affordable prices possible. We appreciate your continued support and understanding, bud. McFarlane Toys' statement, which can be read above, states that only certain lines will be affected, and fans have already seen a $3 US increase. While McFarlane Toys has prices that are slightly lower, other retailers like Big Bad Toy Store and GameStop will have even higher prices. Like the GameStop Cowardly Lot Batman getting a new $27.99 price tag of the usual $22.99 price. So it's gone up by $5 US. The recent revealed DC Comics Digital Silver Age wave is also getting a $3 boost for Superman, Dr. Fate, and Two-Face. These changes are not drastic, and dedicated fans are still having many of these pre-orders sell out, but for how long? We're only at the beginning of these new tariff impacts. Only time will tell if prices will get higher in the future. Meantime, get your DC Multiverse figures at the usual price before it's too late. It already is too late. Look, Pandora's box has been opened, ladies and gentlemen. And you're going to see prices rise. You're going to see people dip out. You're going to see collectibles sort of take a nosedive. That's my prediction of it. People think this is like the golden age of collectibles. No, this is like the downfall, like the bubble's about to burst age of collectibles, right? Like I sit here and I look around this room that I sit in and I go, man, I got 30 Funko Pops and I may want 5 of them. I got 18 lawn boxes and I only want 3 or 4 of them. You know, I got 2 dozen statues and I don't need them. I got fucking 100 video games I don't play anymore. You know, all this stuff is going up for sale, right? It's going up for sale. Anything that I think is junk, that I don't need, that is garbage, is going up for sale. And I'm certainly not paying fucking for more collectibles to fill up this house with junk at the age of 50, right? Just not going to do it, you know? God knows how much longer any of us have on this earth, right? You know, not to put a jinx on things, knock on wood. Hopefully it's a good long time. But at the same time, you know, when you're younger, you want to accumulate like a lot of possessions. It makes you feel good. It gives you that dopamine hit. You own lots of stuff. But when you get older, you look around, you go, a lot of this is junk. A lot of this is clutter. I don't use half of this. You know, it's just sort of taking up room. There's lots of money tied up in these things, money that could come back into my pocket and be more useful for things for me as I get older in life, you know, like bills, like vehicles, like food, like things that, you know, actually matter. as opposed to wasting money on paper and plastic all the time. And that's what it is. It's just when it comes right down to it, all collectibles are, in a nutshell, is paper and plastic. Sometimes metal, but usually paper and plastic, right? And I think everyone really needs to take a hard look at how they're spending money, what they're spending money on, and why they're spending money on it. Now, I get it. If collecting brings you joy and that's what you want to do, go ahead, have all the joy you want. For me, I do like to collect, but I have really slimmed it down. I'll still go to the comic book shop and buy a comic book or two, but that's all I'm doing is going to the comic book shop and buying a comic book or two. I stopped buying statues. I stopped buying toys. I stopped buying Funkos. A long time ago, I cut down my pull list to 3 titles. I get X-Men, Magic, and Red Sonja. That's it, period. And I'm not adding any more. If I want something else, I'll pick it up off the shelf, right? That's it. And that list may even shrink. It might come down to 1 title or 0 titles eventually, especially if they raise the prices of floppies. Could you imagine if you go to the comic book store and that $3.99 book, that $4.99 book that you're used to buying is now $5.99, $6.99, God forbid, $7.99. Everyone's going to drop out. People are dropping out already, right? So when people look at comic books now, they look at nostalgia. It's like memorabilia for South Park, right? And I'm one to talk, being a 2D South Park avatar, but that's what it is. It's memorabilia for South Park. That's all comic books are now for these old men, right? Kids aren't reading comics, they're reading manga, and there is a difference. It's style, it's format, it's how it's presented, it's all kinds of differences. So I don't even want to hear that argument. Well, they're technically that's comics. It's not the comics we're talking about, and you know it, so shut up. You know what I mean? It's a dying, dead hobby, man. And I think it's a buyer's market, not a seller's market. I don't think people are making hand over fist on these comic books anymore. I think people are essentially just trying to get rid of them for what they can right now before prices drop on these things even further, Only the blue chip keys, the big boy books, the really rare and hot variants will survive the test of time of this. If you're buying, I don't know, Spider-Man 67 from the new run and you think that is going to put your kids through college, stop buying comics, right? A lot of people are also saying they rather wait for trades and omnibuses or read digitally. Well, that doesn't help the comic book market at all because the comic book market is 99% dependent on the floppy. Why? Because they're cheap and easy to produce. And that's the testing field of a trade or an omnibus is going to sell. If the floppies do really well, they'll make a trade out of it. But they're not going to make trades without making the floppies first because it's so expensive, right? Especially if you're a small publisher, right? Like me. I'm not going to sit there and pour $20,000 on my money into a trade, throw it up on Kickstarter, and not have it reach funding, not have it make me any money, right? It's a waste of time. And don't think that larger companies don't think in those same terms. They most absolutely do. So maybe we do go to graphic novels and we get rid of the floppies, but you're going to see less of them because now you no longer have the reason to go to the comic book shop every Wednesday, right? That's what kept those places alive is weekly foot traffic. If you're making a graphic novel and they're only going to come out once every few months, then there's only a reason to go to the comic book shop once every few months. Well, that's not going to keep businesses alive. Well, now is it, right? Guys got a lot to think about when it comes to this world of comic books. And I understand times are changing, but sometimes going back in time is what needs to happen. Spinner racks, presence in newsstands and corner stores and 7-Elevens and Dollar Trees, wherever. We need comic books in Walmarts, okay? We need comic books at Barnes and Nobles, at Chapters, at every bookstore conceivable that you can imagine. You need to be able to walk in with your kid, and that kid needs to run over because he saw Spider-Man on a rack and he wants it. That's how we keep this shit alive. Not by raising prices, not by getting rid of the floppy, not by going solely digital. I gave you the secret sauce. It's up to you now to implement it. Speaking of which, if you want to keep comic books alive, you want to keep this comic book alive, stay tuned from a word from our sponsor. And just who is today's sponsor? Well, it's me, Austin. It's been me all along. And I'm just here to let you know that Nyobi Outbreak number 4 is on its last week on Kickstarter here. We've been running this in late pledges, aka in demand now for the last couple of weeks, and we're glad that we've had 8 new backers come in and join us on the fun. And it's not too late. You can come in and back this for another week or so, and then it is going to get shut down because we just can't leave it open forever, right? We need to get the ball rolling. We need to get the ball moving. So come on in and help us out. There are 10 great covers to choose from, including Juan Antonio Altaveras right here. How about LC Fritas featuring Adana? What about this great cover from Lock Win right here? How about the cover from the Sensei, Ben Dunn, founder of Antarctic Press and the creator of Warrior Nun and Ninja High School, with our X-Men homage? Bucket list artist Ali Garza right here. How about the master, Keith Garvey? How about Narcilio Souza with the Dance Till You Drop set right here? Great triple set cover that you can pick up for another week or so, only right here on Kickstarter. And to top it all off, this epic cover by Image alumni, known for his work on Evangeline and Lady Pendragon, Scarlet Crush, and so much more, Mr. John Stinsman. Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go here. We got the pages done. We're working on the coloring of the last few. We're going to be 2 months early, not 4 years late. So why don't you jump in now, catch up on all things Nyobi. We have everything you need. If you missed out on the past, if you're missing a variant cover, that sort of stuff, come in, take a look. Things are starting to sell out, including some of the signature series, including some of the original sketch cards that we have on the go. You do want these. They're gorgeous. They're awesome. And again, only available for another week or so. So pull the trigger, pull it now, and we'll see you soon.